Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness and another Doctor Who review. This time, Dot and Bubble, the most recent episode. Before I get to that, however, a quick reminder the fundraiser continues. For those of you unaware, I am a disabled individual, and I utilize a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I need your help. My insurance will not cover anything with regard to my scooter as they view it as a quote luxury item end quote. Despite the fact that I am unable to walk and unable to use any other type of power chair or a standard wheelchair for that matter, given my limited dexterity and use of only one hand properly. So, with that stated, below the title of this video in the description, as well as in a separate section below that, you will find a spot fund link. Any and all contributions are welcome. It takes a few seconds to contribute, and it all adds up over time. Any and all help is welcome. And I do want to illustrate that at the current time I am endeavoring to refurbish my existing scooter. It is not getting any younger, like myself, and it is in desperate need of new parts and the trained technicians to install these parts to make certain that they are running correctly. So, with all of that stated, I need your help. My worst fear is that I'm not going to be able to move around as my scooter may not function. And if it doesn't function, I am a fish out of water and I am dependent upon people 24/7 for my level of care. And that's not who I am. I'm a person that thrives on my independence and pride myself on my independence. And while, yes, I'm not completely 100% independent in my everyday life, I do really take pride in the things that I can do, and I do them the best I can. So, with all of that stated, my goal is to remain as independent as I can, and that is why we are doing this fundraiser to raise the available funds to obtain the parts and pay the technicians to install these parts. So please, as stated, do what you can at the Spot Fund account link below. It is greatly appreciated. I do want to extend a gracious thanks to those who have contributed thus far, in addition to those who plan on contributing, as your contributions have and will make a world of difference in my life. Thank you. I love you all, and on with this review. So, Doctor Who, Dot and Bubble. It aired this past Friday. Today is Monday. I was going to try and get this review done yesterday, but I got occupied with other activities, so we are here today. And this was an interesting episode to some degree. It was sort of. First of all, this review will contain spoilers, so you have been warned. So either go watch it and come back, or if you don't care and you just like to hear me ramble, that's all cool. Keep on watching. So, how to start this out? It's an episode that, in my opinion, is sort of following a Doctor Who, a new Doctor Who, I should say, uh, trope, if you will, of an episode that really doesn't feature much of the Doctor, um, or his companion for that matter, but focuses on other individuals interacting with them. And that was the case with this. And basically there's a futuristic society and they function via a multimedia network bubble. So when they wake up, they say dot, they say bubble, and this dot turns on, which um, presumably is sort of it's all linked together as part of the AI, but it's sort of from what I can gather, a directional beacon to tell you how to move around. Whereas the bubble just shows you your contacts, your friend, and them talking to you. So you don't really have a lot of actual personal interaction in this particular world space, and it is an area that has a certain age group in it, and they work for about 2 hours a day, and they relax and party the rest of the time because they're rich, and that is why they're in this scenario. So, um, the Doctor and Ruby Sunday hack into this bubble network to let them know that they are in trouble. Specifically, our main character, Lindsay. And Rick, Lindsay is very dismissive of both the Doctor and Ruby because they are not known to her on this network of friends that she has. And once she actually listens, they tell her that she's in great danger and that they need her to take down the bubble and describe what she sees. And she eventually does, and she sees a creature. Um, and I wish I could say the creature was scary looking. To some, it might be. It really, I think if it was darker lit, like the actual scenes, it would look a little more menacing. But in broad daylight, it wasn't. It wasn't any. It wasn't shocking. It was bad CGI in my opinion, but that's okay. Um, I could be the odd man out on that opinion. Anyway, for some reason, these creatures are not targeting her. They are not eating her, basically. And the doctor is trying to figure this out. And she's walking about. And when she walks, she has the bubble on. But the doctor wants her to walk around without the bubble so she can actually see where she's going and see what she's seeing. Problem is, she's so accustomed to the bubble that she really doesn't acknowledge walls, poles, buildings, that sort of thing. So she's walking in all these things. And it's amusing to some degree. Um, Not as funny as I think they wanted it to be. At least after fashion, it started to get old. But at one point, when she is told not to use the bubble, and she is basically facing this row of these creatures that she needs to walk through the center of, this gentleman who is obviously this famous individual who goes by the name of, I believe, Ricky Sunshine. We'll call him Ricky, though, just to be on the safe side. Um, he beckons her towards him, and they take off to the lower levels of these buildings where there is a river that flows down below them. And he apparently spent a lot of his time in his room with his bubble off, so he's aware of his surroundings, he's aware of all of these ancient passageways from reading books on it. So he's well versed in this area they live in, and he guides our main character, Lindsay, and the doctor gives him and Lindsay the code to open this door that can allow them passage to this river. And it is at that point when he is getting close to entering the code accurately that the dot becomes aggressive. Um, and at that point, also, the doctor has figured out that these creatures are basically um, I guess AI driven, and they are eating people in alphabetical order, and they have finally moved their way to Lindsay. And in a really, really unexpected twist, while Lindsay's entering the code and has entered accurately, while this Ricky is defending her against the dot, which is attacking, she, every time it goes to focus on her, he bats it away, and she recites that his last name is actually something different that came prior in the alphabet to her, and the thing targets him, and he is no more. And she makes her way through the passageway down these corridors. The doctor is guiding her. She lies to the doctor about what happened to Ricky, um, saying that he stayed behind to help some others, and not sure whether or not the doctor buys that or not, but she meets up with her friends, and they're all getting on this boat to travel across the river into the actual land itself, outside this bubble that this whole thing is taking place in. As not only do they have these bubbles surrounding their heads, basically, for this interactive world, they also have a bubble surrounding the city itself. So the question is how the creatures get in. Well, it's AI got astray, I suppose, and they she gets down to this lower level. She sees one of her friends, and her instant reaction is to hug this girl, because Ricky had hugged her, and she liked it. So she hugs a friend, and the friend is, is this what we do now? And she's like, yeah. And they all just are talking about going out and into the wilderness. And the doctor says, I can take you guys away from here and away to safety in my ship. He explains that the TARDIS is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And they look at him and very flippantly turn him down, and they all depart on this boat. And Doctor realizes that it's basically because he is black. Because he's, basically lashing out at that point because these people would not go with him. And there could also be, in addition to that perception, that he is poor as well, because all these individuals in this society are rich. But it could be just a combination of being rich and white as opposed to poor and black, or perceived poor and black. So it's a racially motivated episode, which you don't realize until the very end, and it doesn't really. It hits you, but not as hard as it could have hit. It was also a very non-subtle, um, derogatory way it was played towards the Doctor being black, and in this future society of rich white kids. And he gets in the TARDIS and dematerializes, and that's the end of the episode. I don't know what I was expecting, if I was expecting anything. I think the episode was okay. I did not enjoy it as much as uh, last week's episode, 73 Yards, which was probably the best episode of this season so far. I also did not enjoy it as much as The Devil's Cord. But it was okay. Wasn't great, it was okay. So yeah, that's really all I can say about Dot and Bubble. Um, there's not a lot to say, unfortunately. There's not a lot of Doctor companion, not companion, Doctor main character interaction with Lindsay, except for at the end. And also, it was very reminiscent of, say, an episode like Blink, where the Doctor and Martha are nowhere near um, the main characters. In fact, they're in a completely different time zone as far as actual time and space goes. And it reminded me of that. It reminded my son of that because he came in as I was as I was watching actually, and he asked what it was about, and I told him, and he basically said, it sounds like the Weeping Angels. It sounds like Blink, and I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Except Blink, I think, was penned by Stephen Moffat, whereas this episode was written by Russell T Davies. And it wasn't a bad episode, but it wasn't great either. I think that um, the racial uh, the racial aspect could have been played slightly more on the mark as far as being poignant if um, when the Doctor and Reveille Sunday hack into the bubble Matrix area, like the actual video aspect, and he's talking to her. If she could have maybe reacted more adversely than she actually did um, to his obvious difference in skin tone. But that didn't happen, and she was okay with it. And when she is confronted by the doctor in Movie Sunday at the end, um, she basically tells him, you know, when you were on the network, it was one thing, but in person, you know, no, I can't have contact with you. So it's a racial statement. Um, it's reasonably well done. It could have been done better. Could have been done worse. Uh, it just really didn't have any memorable aspects, in my opinion, and it was a forgettable episode. So there you have Doctor Who, Dot and Bubble. To let me know your thoughts on this episode and any of the other episodes thus far. And what is your favorite episode thus far in our new Doctor Who series as well? I'll be back soon with something brilliantly exciting, I'm sure. And I hope to see you all again soon. Please consider subscribing to my channel and becoming part of the ever growing family of media awareness. I'd love to have you. Have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.